And so the thought of pivoting, especially into a non-medical field, into a creative field, all of, my cohort, basically, if they heard about this, it was more like, why would you do that? Like you've worked so hard for this, like it just, they couldn't comprehend. But I knew, like, if I really took inventory, that like I had this deep desire to try something that I thought not only would fill me, but I thought I could do well at. But that fear of leaving something that was expected of me and something that I worked so hard for kept me from making that jump for a long time. And unlike maybe some where it was like, hey, I'm just gonna, like, cut it, cut the safety strap and go. I was more of that blended model of, I was building TrailFest while still working. So it wasn't like, hey, I'm just going to throw all my chips in and it's all or nothing. It was like, I did build it and I wanted some proof of concept before I actually took that full leap. And I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that, where it's kind of like you have a built-in safety net versus like, hey, I'm just going to dive head first. And if it doesn't work, like I'll figure something out. Like that does work for some, but for me personally, being risk adverse, I wanted to kind of like, dip my toe in the water. And then as I realized it wasn't scalding hot, I was going to go a little deeper. But in hindsight, I wish I had taken those steps towards kind of the future or the life I wanted to build earlier. But it was fear that held me back. And, that came in a lot of different forms. Like the most basic would be a stable paycheck, health insurance, and support of a larger entity. And then appreciating like that there are so many different paths to kind of like being able to make a living, that you don't need those like quote unquote golden handcuffs of an employer, that a lot of us think is like the only way to actually move forward. And I was definitely conditioned that way. Like it didn't really have that entrepreneurial spirit like built into me. But I know that being able to like do something that aligns with, my values, my skill set, and sort of like where my heart is, it's so much more fulfilling than doing something out of fear of losing something. So like kind of reframing it of like, hey, no, this is going to be filled with challenges. There's no guarantee, but I know it's in line with my values, and I know it's, I know where I want to get to. So if I can work towards that, I just, it's going to be more fulfilling on a daily basis than if I just stick in a spot where I'm afraid to make a change, but I know I'm, let's say unhappy. And so I think that it's really that fear of loss that, keeps people from making a shift. But then also if you look back years down the line, it's like, what did you lose by not making that shift? What could have been out there had you decided to take a chance and do something different? But that it's going to take a level of uncertainty to commit into it, and recognizing that you don't know the outcome. But I'm very thankful that we finally did take it, and I do wish I had done it earlier, honestly.